Right. You ain't gonna get away with this, I tell you. I suppose a lot of you. This karma. What goes around will come around. The devil and you demonic entities that abuse children. You can hack me as much like I don't care anymore. Got nothing to lose. The abuses I witnessed of children being abused by men in public toilets in 1998, which I reported thinking it would help those children. Big mistake that was. Big mistake, wasn't it? The snakes. What do you do with the sacrificing of the ordinary kids? What the hell did you do to them? Hmm? Pass them around like a piece of meat. You pass them around to those that abuse children underage. These are young children, 7 years of age and a few years younger. I took one in so he wouldn't be on the streets, and I fed and watered and helped him. I thought years ago the public services was out there to help people. I thought the police were out there to make sure they are protected. Had I known how corrupt they are, I wouldn't have bothered. Right? I would have convinced his dad to make sure that he lived with me. So my son, who was best mates to him, and other people, his wife, the father, his wife left him because unfortunately they lost a child. So the grieving from the dad was always in the pub. So I kept going to that pub to bloody let him know that his son needed feeding. He needed his dad, and no matter what I said didn't work. So for the best interest of that child, you think you could go to public services and their agents to actually get them help. But no, instead it turned its tables on me, didn't it? So I set up a blog, but I didn't name anybody specifically. But I found out the ringleader. My God, was that a mistake knowing about that, wasn't it? And all these years later, still live in the same town, and today having seen the same evil face on a public platform, in public services still. And this just evidence that so many other people have exposed. I'm not a whistleblower, never will be. But others that have done this, they've had their lives ruined. They've been set up in regards. I know you public servants are monitoring everything I do. So you want to use what the acts and statutes that neither consent or the govern. I studied law from 2012 because you key public servants who work for the public had failed to do your duty of care in every regard. I have evidence, paperwork, documents, reports. You can't even make it up what I've got. But you see, all those years ago, and my different lifestyle I had then, you just don't really comprehend the bigger picture, the real life that goes on until things happen to you. And I used to meet and mingle with well-known people, all walks of life. And I used to get invited to parties. I used to have a complete different life, and I was always making sure, I put my kids first. I did what I could, and I wasn't perfect, but I would never ever dream of abusing a child, innocent children. And years on, I find out this is quite widespread in history. And the sacrificing of innocent individuals for for certain things I can't mention on YouTube, of course. But when you find out, and the website streaming above, you educate yourself when you find out these globalist bloodline families, that's all they did. I mean, it's nothing new, because you go back in history and you find that's all they ever did was to cause trauma. So it creates in the mind that innocent individuals so much pain and trauma, it disassociates. So what? Just because I uncovered a paedophilia ring that involves politicians, it's nothing new, because I know since then a lot of stuff's come out about Prince Andrew, and a lot of stuff's come out about lots of people and well-known people. Um, and I now know, unfortunately, how I do not speak about individuals or certain things, because they use that against you for other stuff. And it's like a military operation, really, that you're subjected to. I've been put on a list, on a national security list. For what have I ever done to anybody? Nothing. I haven't harmed anyone in common law, and I haven't breached any lawful contracts, within commerce and business. So just because you educate yourself in knowledge and truth and facts, and you have integrity, and you just know full well that these certain individuals in their position of trust in public office is nothing but a farce. It's just a show. And the real underground world, I call it, is the drugs. It's a sex abuse. It's the harm. It is so well organized. So unless you're part of it and you participate in it, you're going to be targeted anyway. And who was targeted first? If you go back in biblical era, you go to Jesus Christ, who died on the cross to save the sins of humanity in the biblical terminology. And then you look at the bigger picture of technology, where we are to date and the future. That is nothing new, because we're far more advanced in technology than the military is ever going to let on. And then you've got the private corporations, very extremely well organised. And then you've always had the underground dams at Pearsmore, for example. That's just one in England. There's quite a few. And then you have the military, my labs, that's military testing operations. They're abducting people when you don't realise. People may believe they're abducted by what call aliens adoptions, but it's not. It's actually black ops, you know. And when you realise the late Max Byers and so many other similar people get their memories back and realise that the torture as a kid, for example, you know, I've come across some recent information that I haven't seen before, and it just all relates, because when you recover the memories of trauma, you recover, from the effects of trauma, and you learn to know certain things about oneself, and then you can't change what's happened. You can only deal with here and now. But the reason why they want to destroy your life, you know, it's so, the words cannot describe it, because you cannot report the very people that are doing these things to you, because then they use psychology on you. They would twist it and twist it and twist it and use in England. It's the manual, for example, originated America. The psychiatry DSM manual, whatever number it is now, all these diagnoses are being falsified. There's no such thing. People, human individuals, have natural emotions. It's not a chemical imbalance that you need a big pharma industry for. So, these people from years ago, and they still are about the foundations in America, have been campaigning for years to expose the corruption in psychiatry. It's big business, it's big pharma, and when you look at, and please don't get me wrong, people um, generally are distressed, generally have these emotions, and then what is needed, surely, is it is what they call it, psychology, emotional support, not stuff for pills and put in a building and a bed. You know, these contracts in England, which I know these things now. I didn't know some years ago. And then you find a lady called Kate. When I had in the op 2008, didn't work out actually, and then they have to go to such extreme to set me up in so many different ways. It's like a horror story. In a way, you could say it's bad luck, and I won't go into it. I'll be here all day otherwise. But I'm just doing a short one before I call it a day. It doesn't matter what your plots are, what you've done, what you've booked the flats or with the perpetrators. I know exactly what's going on here. I really do. I document it. I'll keep journals. And you're trespassing in my private dwelling, and you'll pick the locks and you get in. Mind you, the door's not been repaired for 6 months, and that's nothing new. And the reason why they won't repair my own, all these negotiations, all these years, is deliberate, because the ultimate has always been using in England, that's known as, in their system, is safeguarding. Self-neglect safeguarding. I don't self-neglect, nobody does it to me. My private arrangements is just that, my private life. But you cannot have a private life. There's no such thing when you're on a list. So what is it, you agents working for the Criminal Injuries Compensation Limited Company? You're all companies, whether you're private or whether you're public funded, and your agents, there's already people working for them. But the dark set, the cultists, the satanic, the really satanic devil worshippers are a sect, and they're in every corner of the earth. And you wouldn't believe it when you see, but also there are guardian angels around. There is, and it is just sickening to know that this is a testing ground, actually, because this is really good, in my opinion anyway. It's not great, but it's a really good spiritual test to my faith, because there's so much things in my younger life, and then as a young mum, my kids themselves witnessed things happening to me. And when I was engaged and married eventually to a man, and he was a 33-degree Freemason, I didn't know until after, but when I was assaulted, attacked by all these women, and in the toilets, and I literally was on a dance floor in a country and western event with my fiance and my children, and this lad started on my lad, who was only quite young, So I was just politely was telling the parents, if you don't mind, you know. So of course, in that kind of environment, you just don't know who you're dealing with, do you? Next thing, I'm defending myself, and I'm being knocked out on the floor, and the ladies lose. So obviously, my daughter comes running in, and there's a couple of adults raise the alarm. And if my fiance wasn't a Freemason and didn't raise his alarm with the Masonic oath that we do, and there's about 20, 30 police surrounding people in the dance floor, the very perpetrators and their husbands. They all got arrested, and I ended up at hospital, and the staff of the venue and the hotel looked after were brilliant, looking after my kids, and my ex did. And I don't remember hardly anything about that now, because the memory so traumatized that situation. I just remember getting into the ambulance, and that was it, and just blacking out. And there's quite a few incidents in my life before 2000, well, before 1998. I clearly remember involving my actual family. And I was raised in the occult, and the religious occult I was raised in, the origins are freemasonry. So I have very much experienced the sacrificing, but not of the human sacrificing, but of a different nature, and the psychological control and the mind as well. So you're taught at a young age to not question anything, but I was always one to question everything when I was young. And I'm just like that, not as much these days, but I've learned a lot of stuff as you get older. So it was quite a shock when I was a young mum with a child moving up to the area all those years ago. I should have stayed down south. My life would have been different, but you can't change things that's happened. And when I was attacked the first time with my former female friend, we worked at the same place, and she was going out with some guy, and the coloured bloke, he didn't believe that she wasn't in, and next thing you know, he broke in my first house I ever had, and he attacked me all night, a vicious assault, and he had a gun on him, put the gun to my head. And I didn't know about the dark side of a gangster life kind of thing that existed. And that area was, well, quite rough, and I didn't know it years ago. I was very, very naive. Years ago, because I was still on the list as in the Mormonism, I did have the support of the police, were very good at the time, and the support public servants then. But I was very badly traumatized, and of course I moved house eventually, but I was having bad memories, I think you call it, and I struck up a really good friendship with somebody, and I had another child, and we wanted to get married, but I again had to be careful, and I found out he was very much into petty theft, so I couldn't have him as a father. I couldn't have my children growing up around somebody, unfortunately, still connected to the underground world. And so I managed getting exchanged and moved into town, and I tried to get on with my life, but it wasn't good because my family was putting the pressure on to join their religion again. I was just didn't want to know. It was really a struggle, and I wasn't perfect. I was just a mum trying to raise two young kids. But unfortunately, I don't remember much when I first moved to the area there. I just remember there was a lot of really nasty kids. And when I look back on it all, well, bits I can remember, it really was much to do with the trauma. And what really goes on, and not everybody was like that. I had come across some decent people. I have met well-to-do people. And I just had a life that I looked an image, I had an image. And I just got trained up in different kind of, from my previous training in college, in a different type of career. And, and then have the odd babysitter, and I had to fight to make, not literally, but I had to make sure they were well, you know, professional, paid a lot as a registered childminders and to work. So I was working to pay the childminder, but at least I had ethics and working at the time. And then it's just, well, I was on my own. My family didn't want to know. They just didn't want communication with me anymore because I wouldn't join their religion. I just wanted to have a life out of it for a while and raise my kids, and I just made sure that if they chose not to be a member or any religious point of view, then that's when they're older, it's up to them. Point I raise that is because that's a period where I stumbled across what I did, and that shocked me to the core. I didn't know how deep the rabbit hole goes, and when there's, like I mentioned, there's the toilets where it goes on, and there's toilets where blokes meet for adult intimacy, and you know, same sex. That's nothing new nowadays, of course, but in those days it was very much so quiet. But using boys and turning them into rent boys was another thing going, as far as I'm concerned, and especially underage. So you had a vice unit, and I was trying to raise alarm that way. That's my biggest mistake. And so that politician, and I didn't know, you know, I didn't really get on with my fiance, so we had a bit of a break. And but I did know a little bit about freemasonry, but not as deep as I know it now. But I just came across brick walls, and my gut feeling was just take him in. He's only 7. I mean, how could anybody let a kid run the streets, you know, and get abused and and when I went to his father's house and I saw what's going on, and I just knew there was a duty of care. But what I didn't know all these years was that the abuse was nothing new. And so what could I do? I set up a blog to try to warn other people. It's the first time I had my first computer, and I was very good at blogging, and I used to be a journalist, just a researcher. So I met somebody from the UK, and I said to him, I said, I need your help to see what we can do. So there was his connections he had, and he said to me that he was the one that educated me on how this goes on. There's nothing new. And he is the one that warned me about the blog, and he put me in touch with his contacts, and to him I said, I need your help. And my phone is playing up to see what we. So So that began really being on the list, the target list, because I didn't know that your phones, computers, everything is being monitored all the time, even back then. And of course, um, it's sad really, because I mean, the lad now is a man and he's living his own life and that's his business. But it put a strain in relationship between myself and my son, and a long time ago that was as well, because he knew I knew, you know, and this lad, now a man, always been hating my guts, always hated me ever since, because I know what he had to do when he got passed around as a rent boy. He knew I knew, and when I saw him in the car getting driver license, when I saw him being taken abroad, and tell him how he enjoyed his holidays, and he was telling my son about it, and this is a very well-known public servant taking a boy across and abusing him abroad. And of course he's getting gifts and trips and all these goods, and you know, the lifestyle is what he got trapped into. I found out it wasn't just that public servant, there's quite a few of them in the area, and those people now, they're very well connected. Some are retired, and some are still well connected and moved up the ladder into the police. Who's targeted me then? Who's gaslighting me, set up the program around what I live then? Who's made sure a certain individual, soon I moved here, a male white in the corner where I live, who's connected to them very much more now than ever. Who started blocking all my repairs in 2017. Who set me up with a mental health card 2017 to date. It's always been that. And there's other people years and years and years going through all this. You see, when I didn't know that the trauma-based mind control program on top has been around before I was born, and how my mother was NK altered, how I was as a kid, and I now remember a lot of stuff, and my family, brothers and sisters were, and not as much as they were, but I witnessed a lot of stuff. But you see, when you know the bigger picture with Disney and Hollywood and a lot of subjects interlinked, it has all been about mind controlling the populace, generally speaking. And so it's really the Luciferian earth that we're in. It's very hard to, very difficult to keep focused, but I will do my best. Knowing what I know of certain individuals and knowing who they are. And because today, when I saw his demonic evil image on a public meeting online, I just could not believe it. All this has been covered up for so long. And I know he used his connections to make sure to try and shut me up for good, and it didn't work. I survived. Tried to get his connections to make sure I got one over. It might stop me other things, but it didn't stop me. I'm still here. I'm going back in 2002. He was, you see, I didn't realise how deep the rabbit hole goes. I just, what? How could you send a serial killer and plant them and get them all the way to come to me and attack me? I mean, is that how extreme they have to cover all this up to stop people it getting out there? And of course, when I connect the dots and look back on it, they will go that far. They will cover up, do anything to cover up. When you sworn your oath in blood with the Masonic lodges and your oaths, and you get to that level, you have to support your brotherhood, and of course they are females as well. And when I left the religious upbringing, the way it was, I was torn to shreds emotionally. I was only 17 and a half, but I thought, no, I'm gonna keep going, and I am. I'll keep going. So all the now and again they throw a spanner in the works to trigger me to think ultra trauma based, and they monitor the brain responses with the advancement in the neuromonitoring. And I like to put myself on a different social platform and myself on camera. But I know the repercussions on that. But in a way, it's like I saw this gentleman I know called Benson. He's done it, but he's not physically in my situation. He hasn't got the disrepairs like I have. And if I start doing that, then it will just play in their hands. So I trust my faith in my Creator, my spiritual faith and practical, that this world is coming to an end the way we know it anyway. And whoever survives is by the grace of God. And I hope and pray all those children and adults still being adopted and taken, sacrificed, will their souls will go in a better place, and will be. That's still going on. This is a massive underground harvesting, and it's not just public servants, is it? And there's other subjects I won't cover right now about that I'm fully aware of. I have seen and know about firsthand. We don't deal with the flesh and blood. This is Luciferian world. And my late mum was so right, I wished I had a King James Bible, a version, a small one she had, and my late brother. He sold me out years ago to the military. And what the hell they did to him in the military. It's messed his mind up. Things he knows and saw. You see, when you have adults, my son and daughter are adults now, got families of their own. But with the isolation part of this program, they think you're going to be self-pity, cut you off from your friends, your family, and your contacts you ever known. They build such a profile and lie about you in such a way that it sounds plausible. And they also can threaten your family members. If you don't do this, we'll do this to you, sort of a scenario. And so, of course, you're either part of their system and their way of doing things and shut up and put up, or you're like me and you're targeted, you're just singled out. So, of course, when I go back to when I first moved in there and I had those beautiful 2 cats, they were harmless. But I soon today found out that Kyle White, he dobbed me in. He did the dirty. There was nothing to dob in, There was no harm going on. But he was the one that was paid to lie and cheat. And he's always been like that ever since. And just because he thinks he sold himself to the devil in his antiques, they planted a fake tenant in the opposite flat where I live. And they wired it all up inside for their technology to monitor me 24 hours a day. Then they plant alleged drug dealer at number 9. And she is very much like that, unfortunately. It's sad, really, because what on earth did they threaten those people who are perpetrators with? You know, their lives. What did they lose? What did they go through to turn into be trained, very well trained, into monitoring your computers, monitoring your homes, monitoring yourselves in your environment, and yet they get away with everything they're doing? They have no remorse because they know if they didn't do that, they wouldn't get paid, and all this will happen to them. So this is where the bigger picture comes in, you know. And when you studied what I've studied, that many people have, I'm sure, you'll find that the biotechnology, the brain interface, the D-wave, hive mind, has always been about that. Single you out with your DNA, check your DNA, see the bloodline of your DNA and your family. The connections linked into all that is just another story, another day. Because it's like, oh my goodness me, kind of scenario. So my whole life, my whole existence has been for this. I was born into this. Had I known at the time all those years ago. So I don't know, perhaps it's the timeline to be epiphany, awakening, a spiritual awakening, to realise that we're dealing with the good and evil. There's no in between. We're doing, you know, Luciferian, it's not the light bearer. You know, so many people get disinformation out there. And you get false teachings. What they say in the end of days, you're going to have false teachings. And of course, I'm fully aware of what's above our heads in the skies. I know what's going on. So I've been a sky watcher for years. Used to take loads of photographs. But I'll keep this short now, because I need to just keep to my routine. A piece of paper, excuse me, a piece of paper to make assumptions about somebody, to imply about, you see, in my situation, they're building up a picture. I do the same. I'm building up evidence, first-hand knowledge. So they've been building up and building up and building up to use the system to imply the one way they can't just like, well, she survived attempted murder, she survived this, she survived that, she survived being a neighbour, blah 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 blah. It goes on and on and on. So what's the ultimate we could do to her? To have her under our control. They set up in 2019, didn't work, did it? Sorry, I'm silly. So every time all this, or there's a whole pattern. When one keeps a diary, you go back in your journals and you can see the patterns reasonable. It doesn't stop, by the way. Once you're in it, you don't come off it. It's like a roller coaster. So the late Max Bias, when he got out about what was going on in other bigger subjects, he didn't die of natural causes at all. So when you had another lady who was a very good lecturer, she was, I'm not sure what country she came from, but she was always getting really solid information out. And when I had 2 channels taken down, they had to stop people awakened. There's other platforms that people don't realise. Doesn't matter what you use. Any social media, any phone is always going to be monitored. So if they can do this with brain interface technology, and then the future of the use of this type of technology, and also employ people to listen to your tone of voice, read between the lines, play things back, monitor. It's a bit like a military operation. So I never consented to be part of all this. I never even thought all this really was the evidence of Department of Defence is a limited company. All of this information I've got on papers from years ago, evidence that individuals, we the living, the flesh and blood, we are the living flesh and blood. And when you find how there's no such thing as a community for targeted individuals, there's no such thing. It gets infiltrated. You have to trust your gut instinct and go with that. And when they come into your main internet connection, what's the point in paying for it? When you know it's when you're of interest to the system, everything's going to be infiltrated in your existence on Earth. So for these perpetrators to be able to have a bath or shower, and I can't, for them to be able to have a life as such. And you know, you want to monitor me to go into a casino, which is not a lot. It might seem a lot on my bank statement, but you don't realise I cash out and take the cash home with me. I don't spend it in the venue. I take it out and home with me. And I monitor my finances very well. Best I can be. But the way the world is now, there soon won't be anything like that. So you perpetrators out there won't have no income. What are you going to do? I know how to survive. And I am not going to. You see, what these demonic entities need, well, what they do use actually, is your energy, your negative energy. They feed off your energy. Vampires feed off energy, don't they? So what is it? Why do you want to drink the chromosomes? Why do you want to have that fear energy of, you know, why do you get off on that? It's really sick. And then what you see humans as a waste of resource. You know, we're just a resource for you demonic entities out there. Yeah, really? I think you underestimate us human individuals that are not part of these snakes and demons and their bloodlines of a different sort of like you see, when people do these videos and websites and show the history of mankind and find a lot of evidence to that humanity has been lied to for centuries, and the true origins of Earth and mankind is out there. And when people do get the information out there, it's so far-fetched that people wouldn't believe. And this is what they like to know. This is what they want. But you see, now is what is coming to fruition is that people is on that spiritual awakening on a massive scale. There are good people out there that are not all gaslighters and out to target you and stuff like that. And there are definitely guardian angels around. I know that. You just need to be still. You just need to be able to put your trust in your just in your inner self, your gut instinct on these things. And when you're going through the darkest moment, you can see the beautiful little things that cost nothing. And simple things I have observed, just switches the human soul, just lifts the human soul. Because when you're in that darkness, that sort of like feeling of like, oh, what next? What if? Whatever. It's all to do with psychology, really, in a way. The fear and the frequencies they use. I didn't even know how good, well, it's not good, but I didn't know how efficient the frequencies they use to create the emotions, to create those feelings, and the patterns and documents they have as well. And when you read them and you look back in history, you think, oh my gosh, this has all been going on before I was born. So, and now only you're scratching the surface of information. And then there's so much more. So I leave it to others to go and do some digging and to research and things. But for my situation, to block, to unlawfully, deliberately block and deny all services for my physical health and putting me at risk is absolutely, totally unlawful. But again, you don't have any morals, do you? You know, really don't have any morals. And it's not for me, not, because it's not, if it was one or two or three incidences, you could put it down to, oh, they got computer fault or human error or logically, things like that. But not 2 years in a row. Not with the efforts what I've made, not with the evidence I've got. So you want to imply that I'm incompetent to handle my affairs. You make it imply that what, just because I know, you know, I'm not in the lodge, I'm not one of them. So let's make her life hell. And many others, aren't they? Really? So the evidence I've got, one of these public servants, she says, Susan, she said, oh, I don't have this particular type of medical aid to my flat. Oh, I don't have the need of it. And then she contradicts herself in the comments in a couple of sentences, and I call her out, and I've got this evidence in a report. Do you think I can trust those key public servants again in what they've already done? And I've got the evidence in black and white, and I can see that corporation as agents for everything they've got, for all this, what they've put me through. And it's not just me, I'm sure. So yeah, thing is, who would you see? Because knowing what I know about how these demonic, I just call it entities and souls of men and women, have one agenda, you won't get anywhere. Because I've tried, and that's why I studied what I've studied and know what I know now. And this is where I know who I am. I know who I am. And I am not of the Luciferian seed. I am of a certain other tribe of Dan. And when, these demonic entities, which I won't put any labels on it, really do their genealogy and checking all this out from a long time ago to date, they have to trace, the bloodlines, and the human bloodlines, and it's really just, I don't give a shit anymore, really don't. But you see, as long as you don't harm anyone, well, for anyone similar to me anyway, as long as you don't cause any harm to anyone or to oneself or breach a contract, there's nothing they can do, because it's all based on personal opinion. It's a subject of assumptions. And for those that absolutely breach the contracts in their terms and conditions and what is meant to be lawful, I think a commercial lien's coming through to each individual man or entity. I don't believe that everyone in the flesh is possessed yet. I do believe that their tails are being pulled a thing or two. I do believe they are controlled themselves. And I do believe they have to do what they have to do, because if they don't end in my situation or similar, or their family or friends will. Because this is how sick this earth is, the blackmail that goes on. It's just, but I would trust in the Creator. For those that might come across this video, I will just trust in the Creator, whatever your belief system is, because this man-made religion, the man-made version, if you want to believe all that, but really trust in your own inner spiritual self and in your gut instinct to never think with the brain, because they're manipulating the neurosciences, advancement in technology now. And technology is don't want to know the darkness that goes on, because when you do, you need to balance yourself well. You need to be able to cope with that information. You don't want to drag yourself down to their level, and you need to be able to move forward. And in the trials and tribulations that will still face you, the trials and tribulations does not stop, and it's just one thing at a time. And what they like to do is bombard you with everything all at once, and suddenly they can set you up with scenarios, which they keep doing with me. But I won't go into that, because it's just like other people can do that more than I. I'm not in the position to. I wish I could name. I wish I could name the shame. But you see, right now I know they're monitoring every my electronics and stuff like that. So this time of night, morning now, I'm going to call it a day. So it's a police state. I'm not knocking genuine people, that you are genuinely want to do the right thing, and you want to be a member of eternity, and you really think it's a good thing to do, and you don't know about what you really have to do to get up to that level. Do you really want to sell your soul? Is it worth all that finance and money, positions and power? Is that what you really want to do? Do you really want to sacrifice innocent children? Do you really want to live as a transhumanist and live for eternity? Because that's what the future is for the humanity's race. That's what they want. And I'm hearing people, even the perpetrators, having health issues around here with all the switch on of the 5G and stuff like that. I can hear it so loudly. But the point is, I know the weather. There's many subjects, and people do try their best. But I know how my main internet is being. I mean, there's so many companies. I can't tell you how many because it's just too many to count. I've got the software on my computer, and they find a back door, and this is where if you're on, you know, MI5, MI6, whatever, they're just corporations. So if you're something of interest, you know, and there's falsified documents about you, then they're going to use investigations on you. Everything's going to be used in their field, in their policies and processes, and they do it in such ways you just think it's a bloody movie, but this is real life. So I didn't consent to have all this happen or to be experimented on, and I would insist you cease and desist at once or face a libel suit of a magnitude that you won't recover from, and that's a promise. If it happens to me, it's never by my hand, ever. And it's not by my private life friends either. It is by these demonic entities, and I've got evidence of recordings of what certain things happen. I won't go into at the moment. But no, when you study about how did humanity or ordinary men and women get turned into commodities, to be a number, to be traded on the stock market. You see, when you learn all these other subjects on top of what you're going through, it's just like, it's like a can. You open a can of worms and they all come out. Which one do you pick first? But anyway, I leave this in the hands of my creator, because he knows what that so many sick individuals are doing, and especially these sick individual, female and male, that I know about today, and what they're plotting, and others linked into that. And my path is already carved out by my true creator, not by your military and your secret societies and your demonic connections and programs or whatever else, which I won't go into. But I'll keep going. And no, it won't be pleasant. It's never a pleasant ride when you're going through this. But I'm safe the best I can be and surviving like anybody in this situation. But I tell you, no living flesh and blood, man or woman, has any authority over me ever. Period. I'm the sole beneficiary of me and the trust of the estate. And how that was created, I might not claim my live life claim yet. But the fact is, I made sure it is apparently it's meant to be. I haven't seen the webcams. It's meant to be a super tight moon, full moon. Isn't it a ritual type a year or something? I don't know, but I don't care anymore. So yeah, that's my brief summary. Really tried to keep it brief of how I tried to save and help this young individual that all these years on. It's a long time. It just brought those memories back, seeing that individual. But I'm aware of, I won't cover the subject today, but I'm aware how so many brave people are surviving so much now, and they're aware themselves. And I let other people cover other subjects that I'm not prepared to cover. There's not really no point in it. I'm never consented to be experiment for nobody. And when I look back and what my late mum's life was like in the early days, she and that period of time, there's some really good movies out there actually, are very good at dramatisation of some very good. I can relate because a couple of storylines relates to how my late mum was. She did the best she could. I didn't always agree, but she did the best she could, and the teaching she gave me growing up for the times now we're living in, I know how to make do. And I did teach my son and daughter that too. I pass it on. Whether they use it or remember it's up to them. But I will always forgive them. It's not their fault what's going on. I know the reasons why my son is doing and my daughter is. And it is hard to forgive those. That's caused a lot of these things. It is extremely hard. I forgave my mum a long time ago. And it's a working process, just put it that way. And it's important for the spirit and the soul, if you've got any decency about you, to find forgiveness. Otherwise you have no peace. Your mind, your soul, your essence have no peace. You cannot take my soul away from me. You might do your demonic things, and I'm fully aware. You plan things ahead. I'm fully aware what's coming around the corner. I'm fully aware. So anyway, I will keep fighting. I won't do it physically. I'll do it lawfully. I will defend my life existence as long as lawfully and honourably as possible, because I know what I'm dealing with. But in the meantime, I will just keep going. So for now, no doubt there will be sleep deprivation kicking in. Gotta fresh up. And I didn't consent to be monitored 24 hours a day. So you can back off and stop your demonic unnecessarily actions for that. If it wasn't for my physical, reduction in my health at the moment, just unfortunate twisting of some ankle or something strange, I would not, most probably I wouldn't have to bloody keep being bed rest all bloody time. It's frustrating. Physically frustrating. And this radiation, by the way, I didn't consent to. You really need to educate yourself and on the website and look at the frequencies. So all this Wi-Fi stuff has to turn off. And all these extra frequencies hitting towards me. Oh, goodness me. During the night. And just go and research. people that don't know this subject, it's frustrating because when I see Pence in the video just now, and I just wished I was bloody in front of a camera like I was years ago, telling the facts, naming people, warning people. But you see, that's not my job, is it? It is not my place to do that anymore. And this is what I've learned. And you only learn things the hard way. I've learned a lot of bloody things quickly the hard way. So they don't want me living there. Yeah. So I've looked at all these local policies coming in play, and very quickly I've looked at a national picture, and there isn't anyone else. Not the times we're living in, there isn't anyone else to move to. So all of my negotiations, all my lawful right of secure tenure, contract law, I am owed a remedy for what's happened to me. Oh yes. Blocking all those bloody repairs, damaging my floor, damaging my doors. Oh my goodness me. I'll tell you, really, I'll tell you, my soul was put in this timeline in such a way to experiment all these practical issues, all these epiphanies, all these awakening, all these experiences throughout my whole life for this point in time. It's just really amazing. So yeah, I suppose my upbringing wasn't ideal, but at least I have that kind of grounding, and I don't knock generally freemasonry at all. Each to their own freedom of choice. It is about freedom of choice. You see, the Luciferian, needs souls that need that energy sucked dry. So when you feel run down, you feel low, you just feel, oh, what's the point? Keep going, best you can. It's not easy. Pace yourself. Keep to a routine, best you can. Watch out for the weather. In England, this coming Thursday and Friday, just being prepared. And anybody similar to me, keep out that heat, because it's radiation. They're going to ramp it up so high to 31 or 30 degrees this time of year. It never happens. Let me just check. -29 degrees. Good job it's going to rain the next day. Looks like going to have some thunderstorms to clear the air a bit after that. So today, I can hear the perpetrators trying to get in the hallway. I've got a break. I'll keep this stream for a moment. I better drink. Oh. I'm over my dream. Passing around like a piece of paste, like a piece of making That is a miracle. Oh my god. Yeah, don't speak, I'm live. You see that? Yeah, I'm leaving the laugh. Psychological campaign. Oh my god. You demons are so pathetic. Turning off deliberately. That lamp is automated. Ooh, you're watching me. I don't give a monkeys. Do you hear that? You don't give a monkeys. Oh, so we're turning off remotely now, on and off the light. There's a street lamp outside. I knew they were just deliberately done that. Psychological tactics. Yeah. Yabbo. Who say it? With a dodgy leg. Where's the full moon? Come on then. Let's have a look. Where's it cloudy? I can't see a thing. Yeah, that wasn't very good. You're not very good at technology. Your spiritual technology. Let's make it really dark. So she can't see anything. Oh, that's really so funny. Right. Yeah, I know. You saw that. Okay. No worries. No worries. It's a Bob Marley film in that. Or a song in it. I can't remember what it's called. So you can see what they're doing. Hacking. Stupid. Just stupid demonic activity. So you'll keep the entertainment going, shall Yeah, it's a song I used to know. So I'm just going to say, I played this in the background. Yeah, I know. The days are getting closer. That is so true. Biblical News Watch. Oh, you're joking, mate. It is getting AI. Look, you got drones to start delivering in sleepy California town. So it is a mega devastator. Oh my, that's what I don't want to know. Because I know it's just the way things are. They want you to be in your little boxes and do nothing. Right, we're going to change channels. Yeah, so I know the street lamp works fine. They're just remotely turning it on and off this time. So obvious. Psychological tactics. Yeah, it's 1:30 in the morning. Now they're hacking into all the network. I can't play the other thing that I was going to show. Let's just get out of that. We'll put it on. Alright, put it onto mobile data because they're just hacking the internet as well. Okay, I can't do it that way for the next one. Yeah, you see how they're blocking the internet. Oh yeah, I might as well just cover this with one false targeted individual. In the background.
Michael Benson, the lawyer, I paid you over $2,000 for some bullshit charge that you know is bullshit that happened back in 2019, right? 2020, I don't know when it happened. Regardless, you fucking know. Because guess what, Michael Benson, former police chief of Buffalo, you were in cahoots with Wyoming County Sheriff, and I gave you a lot of fucking money for you to do absolutely nothing for me. So if there is a bench warrant for me in the state of New York right now, Michael Benson, then you are liable, and I'll ruin your fucking career. Oh, you want a bad review? Dude, you're a piece of shit, Michael Benson. You know damn well that
She's
the
not a
Wyoming County
Christian.
Sheriff set me up, and you are well aware of who Haugus is. So don't play dumb with me, motherfucker.
Charming.
Michael Benson. Go ahead. See what I do to you. See what I do. Michael Benson.
She's
There
lost a
better
lot
not
of
be an
weight.
arrest warrant for me in the state of New York. And if there is, you better get off your fucking...
Okay, doing it with views. Right, be careful about deceptions. I'm going to screen share this individual. Even this time of day. She's called Diana. Talk about MK Ultra trauma-based mind control. She's, of course, you know, she's a victim of it. And she don't know half as much. And she turns to drink to cover it all. And the pain and stuff. So She doesn't quote. Let me just see there's everything before.
Michael Benson.
Let me
Lawyer,
just
right?
see. She and another demonic individual. I won't mention no names. She jumped from one individual to another throughout her life, unfortunately. 20 years of marriage, and she's lost a lot of weight, and then out the blue she starts hooking up with somebody who's been using her and she's using him.
I paid you over $2,000 for some bullshit charge that you know is bullshit that happened back in 2019, right? 2020, I don't know when it happened. Regardless, you fucking know. Because guess what, Michael Benson,
Doesn't look
former
natural
police chief of Buffalo,
armpits.
you were in cahoots with Wyoming County Sheriff, and I gave you a lot of fucking money for you to do absolutely nothing for me. So if there is a bench warrant for me in the state of New York right now, Michael Benson, then you are liable, and I'll ruin your fucking career. Oh, you want a bad review? Dude, you're a piece of shit.
Did she shapeshift on her face then?
Michael Benson. You know damn well that the Wyoming County Sheriff set me up, and you are well aware of
She's been drinking a lot.
how gets it is. So don't play down with me, motherfucker.
Okay, what looks odd is her shoulder blade and her arm and the skin.
Michael Benson. Go ahead.
Lost a lot of weight. Does anybody notice anything strange about that body movement?
See what I do
And her arm?
to you. See what I do.
The skin, it looks like her skin's hanging off under the armpit there.
Michael Benson. There better not be an arrest.
And that shape arm, that shoulder blade doesn't look natural to that one either. The way she's positioned her arm.
Arrest warrant for me in the state of New York. And if there is, you better get off your fucking ass. Your high
This is acting.
powered ass. And you better fix this shit. Do you understand, Michael Benson? That is all. Michael Benson. The lawyer, I paid you over $2,000
Well, she paid £2 grand. If she was in a homeless shelter, how could she pay her £2 if she couldn't afford it? Never know, it might have been a settlement from her ex-marriage.
For some bullshit charge that you know is bullshit that happened back in 2019. Right? 2020, I don't know when it happened. Regardless, you fucking know. Because guess what, Michael Benson, former police chief of Buffalo? You were in cahoots with Wyoming County Sheriff, and I gave you a lot of fucking money for you to do absolutely nothing for me. So if there is a bench warrant for me in the state of New York right now, Michael Benson, then you are liable, and I'll ruin your fucking career.
Charming.
Oh, you want a bad review? Dude.
How can you do a review for if that is in America, for a police officer, public servant? It's a corporation, dear.
You're a piece of shit.
Charming manners.
Michael Benson. You know damn well that the Wyoming County Sheriff set me up, and you are
well, a bit more specifics, dear. That might make it, yeah.
Aware of who Haugus is. So don't play down with me, motherfucker.
She's got Habit and the guy she's shacked up with now will encourage her to make videos just for views without really saying anything about it. What?
Michael Benson. Go ahead.
Could be anybody.
See what I do to you. See what I do. Michael Benson.
Anyway.
An arrest warrant for me in the state of New York.
I wonder if there is a full moon. Let's have a look. I can't see any. Oh, so there is disasters and Yellowstone. Okay, but that's in America.
I paid you over $2 grand.
There's so much AI smart lights on these beaches, you can't tell. You know, it's covering the beaches, it's not the sky, so you can't really tell. The camera zoom so bloody close. It's just like you live in on a matrix world.
I paid you over $2 grand for some bullshit.
It's so funny. Our videos, it's just ridiculous. Just making up so much acting. 12 hours ago. This was in red. Look, she's doing it for views. She's got crazy eyes. That's talking about someone else, and that's libelous and slander. This is how she is. It's just demonic.
So made up out of whole cloth. If the police have already looked into me, I've been investigated at every level, and there's nothing in my history in my life that even suggests that I've ever been involved in human trafficking as far as being a perpetrator. I've been victimized by, one at the target. But these principles and these principles get used by others. It's just psychological warfare. And it seems to me, dear, that
People are just falling for her stuff without any evidence to back it up.
So made up out of whole lot. If the police have already looked into me.
She is staying with somebody that rents this place she's in, and you don't really know if it's true what's going on. So I don't comment. Each to their own, but she has been using others, and he has been doing the same. 12 hours ago. Talk about the devil.
And his role. Okay.
Let it play
Now, Jesus refers to himself as the morning star and aligns himself with the planet Venus and not Saturn. Okay? And, however, the nation of Israel keeps the Sabbath on Saturday. And the Jerusalem Talmud, which Jesus followed, dealt exclusively with the agricultural laws in the nation of Israel, and he did not follow the Babylonian Talmud. And the rest of the nation of Israel, to this day, still pledges allegiance to the Babylonian Talmud. And the school for the Jerusalem Talmud was in Galilee, and Jesus was known as the man from Galilee. And he, Revelation, with the morning star. In Revelation 12 is the woman clothed with the sun, with the moon beneath her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. That's Venus. That describes Venus's position in the solar system. Right? The moon is below Venus. And the moon is beneath her feet. And so we know that Venus plays a role in the virgin birth because this planet in Revelation 12 is described as being pregnant and crying out in pain with labor. And the dragon, the great red dragon, is waiting to devour her child as soon as it's born. Now, the dragon gets hurled to earth and pursues the woman, but the angels show up and give her the wings of a great eagle, where she is flown to the wilderness to be nourished for time and half a time. There he is. When you talk about the devil, he shows up. Now, who's the devil? What? Who is the devil? No, he's the tempter. It isn't Lucifer who came to visit Jesus in the wilderness. It was Satan. It's not Lucifer that came to God in the book of Job to ask permission to test Job. It's Satan. And Jesus specifically says to Peter, Satan has asked to sift you like wheat, not Lucifer. Why? Well, this is where it gets iffy. This is where people freak out. But the Freemasons know to be a Satanist and a Luciferian are not the same. You understand?
Really?
Lucifer means light bringer. And he's associated with the goddess.
This is where she gets the word.
He is her son, Lucifer. And
especially when she's in tarot cards.
So who is the devil? Well, obviously associated with Capricorn.
She didn't like that bit.
Here's why there is a connection that cannot be severed, a bond that cannot be severed.
Those clothes was funded by the gentleman
we are in what's known as the Matrix.
Meant to be a hospital with. Shame really that people like
You
that.
talk about you can't leave the Matrix because you can't leave the soul system.
She's not
You're
her
stuck.
soul.
I'm stuck. We're all stuck.
She really
The Anunnaki got stuck.
She's in the world. She wants to make money. She's using oil and
You watch.
she's using any way she can to survive.
They couldn't return to their home life.
Unfortunately, that's the way she is. It's their business.
Who is probably the premier authority on the Anunnaki? And if you want to know about the Anunnaki, then definitely Sitchin is your go-to.
If you want to,
I highly recommend the 12th Planet.
There's a lot of theories behind it.
Ancient Astronaut Archive on YouTube is the premier source on all things Sitchin and all things Anunnaki, and very comprehensive
It's not
website.
just the Anunnaki,
Spend
there's
a
different
year
races.
watching videos and
It's deeper
basically
than that.
educate yourself. Don't be afraid of knowledge.
Educateyourself.org.
Don't be afraid of learning something new
That's the plug.
that might
Not my
challenge
website, though.
what you've been told. You all know as well as I do that you've been lied to your whole life. All of us have. So if you don't take the initiative to go out and learn something, and don't be so afraid to learn something that's going to contradict what you were told by the establishment, by your parents. They were lied to, and they passed on that lie to you. That's called the generational curse. Okay? So, if you want to know the truth, well, you're going to have to look in many different places, aren't you? The Tower of Babel, which scattered the nations and the languages, made it so that you really have to go to all these different cultures. You have to look into everything. You have to take it all in. And you have to trust the Holy Spirit to reveal the truth to you and give you the knowledge to bring light into your world. Jesus said we are the light of the world. Jesus in the Gospels associates himself with Lucifer. But my God, do the Christians have a hissy fit, despite this being in their own holy book, despite the truth being contained within the Bible? Is the Bible literal? No. It's not. But it does contain keys to the truth. And I can certainly use the Bible to back up my claims. And a lot of people have connected because the Anunnaki, well, they were worshipped first by the Sumerians, which later would become Babylon. And Abraham and Sarah, the parents of the three major religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, were in fact Sumerian. And the gods of the Sumerian were tall, blonde, and blue-eyed. They were white because they came from a place that didn't have a sun like ours. And they got stuck in the matrix, Saturn matrix, and they couldn't leave again. And we are their offspring. And there were many here. There was the ruling dynasty family consisting of Enki, Enlil, Anu, Inanna, and all their respective children. But there were also the Agigi, who came, I do believe, from Orion, and they were basically slaves to these Anunnaki, slaves to the ruling dynasty. And we know this because in the Epic of Gilgamesh and in earlier Sumerian writings, there was a workers' revolt. The Agigi revolted. And
Another take on history.
were created as a solution to these alien beings who were brought here. They were brought here as slaves. Well, when they revolted, and Enki's son Marduk married an earth woman, well, this, because Marduk was the head of the Agigi. He was the leader of the Agigi. And he married an earth woman, and this inspired the other Agigi to come to his wedding and kidnap a bunch of earth women and marry them. And this gave birth to the giants and the Nephilim. And eventually, when the earth could no longer sustain these giants and their shenanigans because they were just out of control. If you want to know the story of the Agigi, then you have to read the book of Enoch, which was removed by the Vatican because it told the truth about these fallen angels, these Agigi. They were miners. They were here to mine gold for the ruling dynasty, the Anunnaki. Now, I come from that ruling dynasty, the original inhabitants of the earth, the pre-human inhabitants, who gave us their DNA. And this is something that is hidden from people, but not anymore. You know, when you hear the story of the Anunnaki, you know you're hearing the truth of our origins. The Epic of Gilgamesh is what you need to read. These things you need to know. It matters. More than anything else you could possibly do to learn the truth about who we are, where we come from, where it all started. And all these things are on the Ancient Astronaut Archive. All these books, these sacred texts are recited on Ancient Astronaut Archive. So if you're not a big reader, you can just go listen to it. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Epic of Gilgamesh, even the Enuma Elish. These are ancient texts that I study and know about. So, it's not like I'm just over here sprouting off, made up nonsense that I made up in my head. I'm literally reading.
We'll show the books then, put links in, so people can have a look.
Civilization that predate all of us. And so, these things are every bit as important. These sacred texts are every bit as important as the Bible itself. And perhaps even more so because they contain the truth that is obscured by Scripture. Because understand, the Bible is the story of one family, Israel, the nation of Israel. It's their family history. It's the story of everything they went through to get to be where they are. And considering that the world worships a Jew as God, well, I'd say the Bible is still important. And also, most of the stories in Genesis are actually taken from earlier Sumerian Babylonian writings. Right? Marduk is mentioned by name in Jeremiah chapter 50. So these are things you really want to know about. These are the things you need to know, especially going into the new world. Because you can't create a new future, and a new path if you can't remember the past. You are going to be doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over. Learning the truth is what sets you free, as the Lord said. And just so you know, Christians, the Lord knew these things. His family went to Egypt. And he clearly practiced the principles, the 7 principles and the 10 commandments, because he could raise the dead. He could raise himself from the dead. And in the
raise himself from the dead. I've heard it all now.
The Son of Man that I have been able to find is in the Emerald Tablets, and Thoth was given immortality. Enoch became the angel Metatron. And where most of you think Michael is the highest archangel, it is Metatron who outranks Michael, the angel Metatron. Why don't we know? Why does mainstream religion not teach this? Why are we not taught these things when they are in fact vital to our spiritual and mental and even physical well-being? These things are the food and water of life, the wine of the Spirit. And yet, Christians categorically reject all of these things as being heresy and blasphemy, therefore denying themselves the very thing that they pray for, denying themselves salvation, relying solely on
this is what deception
and his murder and the crime committed against him to get into heaven. And I said this in the past, and I got in trouble for saying it. But if you read the story of the Gospels and you take out all the religion, what you see is an innocent man, a good man, being murdered by the religious and political establishment, who then, thanks to Paul, made a religion out of what they did and told everybody that you have to worship the image of the beast, Jesus as Lamb of God. Instead of seeing it for what it is, that a good, innocent man was persecuted and murdered by the political and religious establishment for speaking the truth and for being able to back that shit up. He didn't just talk a good game, he actually did a good game. And it didn't matter that he could raise the dead and heal the sick and feed the hungry and make the blind to see and the lame to walk. The proof of his abilities only enraged those who profited from keeping the rest of the society, the rest of the people, blind and helpless. The religious and political establishment did not want the people to know the truth. They wanted to profit off the suffering of the people who trusted them. This is why Jesus, when he went into the temple and he kicked out the moneylenders, he was sending a message to the political and religious establishment. And when you start fucking with people's money, they get real itchy, don't they? So Jesus threatened these people. He threatened their ability to live well off the suffering of the people. He threatened their ability to remain above the people and have the people look up to them and worship them as though they themselves were God. I understand that the Babylonians and stuff, the ancient empires, right? The emperors and the kings were thought to be gods in the flesh, right? They lived in palaces and they commanded armies and they had a lot of money and everybody paid tribute to them as though they were paying tribute to God. And here comes Jesus, a homeless street preacher, and he tells people the truth, what they can do if they know the truth. He said, you can do what I do and even greater things than me if you know what I know and you follow my example. But he also said that you would be persecuted for his name's sake, and if they hated him, they were going to hate you. So all you people pleasers out there who claim that you know the Lord, well, he doesn't know you because you're too busy following and obeying the religious and the political establishment, letting the government, trusting the government to save you, trusting religion to save you. Show me one example where the government and religion ever saved anybody. I'm pretty sure religions and governments are responsible for more bloodshed than not. So there are several things you need to know. Rather than, worry about things that you can't control, why don't you study the things that can teach you how to control your own destiny and control your fate? Determine your own fate. Set you free from the bonds of your sins, the bonds of the rules society arbitrarily places on you. Be set free from other people's cognitive dissonance. But first you got to stop giving so many fucks about what other people think. Especially people who don't actually matter. People who don't pay your bills. People who don't provide for you. How many of you are living your lives scared to death of what somebody who has zero power in your life, zero, they're not giving you anything, they're not helping you, they're not doing anything for you, and you care what they think. You really need these people to like you. Why? Why? The moment you compromise your integrity, your authentic self, to make somebody happy, you've now made that person your God and your maker. You're now letting that person make you in their image because you are changing your behavior to make them happy. Now, sometimes you need to change your behavior. Sometimes your behavior is unacceptable. But I think most of you are responsible and intelligent enough to know when you need to change your behavior and when you need to tell people to go
Not when you talk at it, girl.
Right? So, the devil is there, because that's what this is
This
about.
is
The
a
devil is
genuine
there
individual.
to test you, just like he tested Job. Satan is there to test you, to see if you're just talking the talk. Because Jesus is not your get out of hell free card people. He is your example to follow while you're going.
Holy in America.
Tick on their head when you see a picture of them. So, anyway, I had just been sitting here talking to Abba. I think I'm going to go and talk to Abba too. Again, more. I don't know what to do with myself. But I'll tell you what, I'm definitely not taking back any part of my testimony. I've been walking around really contemplating my life, and you know what, I'm not taking back my testimony. If anything, I've got more stuff to add to my autobiography. I've got more stuff to add to my PDF file of drawings. So I'm sticking with it. I guess every once in a while, for me, I guess I go through a period of rededication and repentance. But I think this time I'm going through like a period of like devotion and how serious am I about Abba? Do I really want to walk with him, or am I just kidding myself? You know what? I don't think I'm kidding myself. I think I definitely want to devote my entire being to him. I think that'd be like the best decision I could make for myself. And how to do that. Geez, I gotta first rely on him, how it is, and feel comfortable in relying on him. I guess it's step, huh? Step by step. But I want to be like the Apostle Peter, where he walks by and he's like, yeah, I don't have silver, I don't have gold, I don't have any of that, but I'll give you what I do have. In Yeshua HaMashiach's name, you are healed. Walk. And honestly, well, even when I had Keeper and Sable, all I had was Yeshua HaMashiach, my golden bow. But now that I have two huge voids in my life, I've asked Yeshua, my golden bow, to fill it. And I think he is, because, geez.
This is evidence, you see, why you don't get
walk
happy.
around here
She doesn't get
say
happy
my
on the
Keeper's
screen.
name
I do.
anymore. So I'm calling out
She's not
my golden
targeted.
bow's name a lot more often. I guess, Heavenly Abba will figure this stuff out for me. He'll figure it out for me, because I have no idea what I'm doing. Although I will tell you this. If I wake up at 2:30 in the morning, I'm going live on Fringe, okay? Hey, sweetie pie, how are you, Jody? It's great to see you. I'm going live on Fringe. I'm praying for you too, honey. Thank you so much. I'll accept prayers. And I send back prayers and blessings and love. Thank you so much. I'll accept prayers. And I send back prayers. So I just got done. I think I won a victory over Beelzebub. Principality. First I was possessed by him. Now he totally destroyed my life, and he even said he was going to take Saber Keeper, my car and my house. But I was in denial, because I was at that now. I was in denial because I was at bare minimum at that. Now I'm not complaining. Papa gave me everything I could have ever wanted, and he still takes care of me. So I have no complaints. I'm gonna go and find food.
figure out what to do with myself. I'm so surprised I'm up at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually I'm knocked out by this time. I forget what like the night sky looks like, because I'm usually asleep before the sun goes down, and usually awake before it comes out. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go. So yeah, if I fall asleep, I probably will sleep proper tonight because I'm still awake now. But the next time I wake up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm gonna go talk on French. I'll put up a notification for you guys, but I'm gonna go waste my time on French. No, it's not wasting my time. I'm gonna go talk their ears off on French next time. It never hurts to put together shows about spiritual warfare. Oh yeah, darn it, I didn't put my show together for tomorrow. That's a problem. That's gonna be a problem. I can push it back to the afternoon. But if I push it back to the afternoon, then I gotta cancel all those other appointments that I already put off from today. Alright guys, I'm sorry I put off my appointments today, and I'm sorry I've been MIA. I'm home. I'm just contemplating my life, I guess. I don't know what else to say. And warning, and definitely praying for you guys. I'll see you later. It's great to see you, Russian son, especially because I got like good news. Like Abba's guiding me and leading me. I'm trying to walk in love, but thank heavens when he told me to walk in love, it wasn't to carry the love gospel. It was to have, walk in love in that I obey the commandments, but I have confidence in him and rely on him, and confidence in reliance in and of him. Just, I can't imagine how restless I got this all in 24 hours.
All right, now we're going to look at one of the worst art groups on Facebook.
No, like really seriously.
International.
For me, it's a process.
Those
Miami
with
was
birds
a
that will
24-hour turnaround. I want to walk like it. For me, I got to try at it. For other people, it comes easy to them. So, but either way, I'm not trading the show for the world. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Oh, and again, I don't believe.
And that might also end the stream too.